Maestro, drum roll please. I haven't done this in a while. Ooh, it's a Larson video! And yes, indeed, it's a Larson video. We've actually got Kyle Larson things to talk about that aren't just, hey, Kyle Larson won another race, because otherwise I'd be doing a Larson video, it seems like, every week. Perhaps even if I did the dirt stuff, it'd be every day. But first, I want to follow up on something I talked about 2 days ago, which was the NASCAR Next Gen crash test rumors, which are just probably the hottest topic right now across really American motorsports. It seems everybody's talking about this. And we had more comments from the NASCAR side of things that I think are important to air. This comes from NASCAR Senior VP of Competition, Scott Miller. He was interviewed on the Sirius XM radio show yesterday about these next-gen rumors and dismissed them completely. So I want you to hear some of this clip. The rest of the clip will be in a link to the Twitter post, actually posted by NASCAR themselves, and you can listen to the whole thing, but this is kind of the key clip.
It's not like anybody should have expected that we would go crash that car and look at a couple of graphs and say, hey, we're done analyzing this data. We see absolutely nothing in the data that's alarming, but we want to have a comprehensive report. And I have no idea how all of the rumors started about that it didn't go well, because it did go well.
Okay, so not unexpected that they would just outright deny it and say everything's fine, because ultimately right now, and really it's not even an everything's fine, it's just that the process is going along fine, I think is the message that they're trying to get out right now. That's not to say that... and I still absolutely believe that something's going on. I traded, because when this came out yesterday, this was a very strong denial, dismissal, whatever you want to call it, of the current rumors. So I got in touch with a Cup Series driver who I'm familiar with. We traded DMs a little bit, and it was mainly just me going, what's the deal here? Am I completely getting smoke blown up my butt? Is everybody getting smoke blown up their butt? Or is there something more to this? Or is this something real? Is this something that we should... am I barking up the wrong tree, I guess you could say? And ultimately what it came down to is, yes, there's definitely something going on, at least on the driver's side. The drivers are definitely not happy with the communication. We know that. There's public comments from drivers like Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin that state just that. I think Kevin Harvick was another one. But... yeah, there's unhappy feelings specifically about elements of the next-gen car, how it handles, the crush zones. I've heard a lot of things, again, it's hard to confirm this, but a lot of things about the crash that William Byron had at Fontana, which has concerned a lot of people. So you read all these things, you hear all these things, and again, I'm thankfully in the position where I get to talk to a few people who would be in the know, and get to talk to people who are even more in the know, and I can get the sense that, look, NASCAR could be completely in the right here, and they could be getting completely screwed over by whoever's starting these rumors. I still think there's a possibility. That's what I said in the first video when I talked about the communications director of the technology and development at NASCAR, because he suggested, and I think rightly so, that a lot of this is disgruntled employees on the fab shop side of things. Certainly those people would be the first to spread a rumor like this, true or not, because ultimately it could be the difference between them getting a job and not getting a job. There's no doubt about that. But I think even if what NASCAR says is 100% what's going on, and the car will be on track in 2022, and everything will be fine, dandy, and peachy, there's obviously a very large divide right now growing in NASCAR. And it seems like the drivers are on one side, and potentially the teams and the series are on the other side. Now, I don't know how that is resolved, and a lot of people are like, well, there's going to be a split. ultimately, there's not going to be a split until one of two things happen. Either the teams get mad or the manufacturers get mad. And as far as I know, NASCAR's bending over the backwards for the teams and for the manufacturers. There's a reason the charter system exists, and there's a reason you're running 550 horsepower at most tracks. It's for those two elements, or to keep those two elements happy. So, I don't know, and a lot of other people are kind of talking about a driver's strike, and this is people in the public space, the Twitter replies and stuff. No one in the industry is actually talking about this sort of thing, and I just don't see that. The only thing I see is just a lot of divide and a lot of upset people, and I don't know where it ends up, and I don't know where this ends up. Again, until we have the data that NASCAR still doesn't have. To their credit, they are going through the process, in my opinion, the right way, which is they're waiting for the data to make a decision. But it still sounds like they're full steam ahead. What happens if that data comes out and it confirms what the drivers have been saying? I don't know. There are interesting days still ahead, and this again is one of the biggest stories going forward. But speaking of a big story going forward, Kyle Larson has had a major commitment from his team owner, Rick Hendrick. And I want to play this fluffy piece that Hendrick Motorsports put out because it explains exactly what has transpired and how HendrickCars is going to be sponsoring Kyle Larson from now until the end of 2023, and in some ways, why they actually are a real sponsor.
We wanted that car before someone else got it. And we went to Mr. Hendrick and said, look, we want it. And initially he said, well, I've got these other sponsors. And they're like, no, we want it. What is it going to take? So now we have the ability to have that car for the next 2.5 years.
They were willing to sign up for 22 and 23. That's a huge commitment. But we spend a lot of money to drive traffic, and this is working better than anything else, so they got the deal.
It's awesome that they see the value in me and what we've been able to do. So I'm just very thankful for HendrickCars.com and everybody at the Hendrick Automotive Group for their belief in me, and to now carry it on for at least a couple more years is great.
From a business perspective, this makes all the sense in the world. If you look at the HendrickCars.com car, when that car is on track, 5 out of the 6 times it's on track, it's been the highest website generations that we've had. 56% of the people visiting our sites are new to our site. Lead generation is up 44%. All of those critical areas are up.
To hear they've seen the impact on their business and to have people driving to their website, as well as having that support from the thousands of employees, it means a lot, and I think we all feel it here on the 5 car.
The day that we unveiled the car, it kind of blew up our website. I think we just had so many fans and really our customers and people looking at cars. You got so many things that feed that site, and it was just a tremendous success.
Now, that was very PR fluffy, and you don't want that. Welcome to the lack of spin zone, I guess you could say. We are going to... So, the thing that's important to keep in mind about this is, yes, at the end of the day, while HendrickCars.com is independent enough to be like, we want to sponsor Kyle Larson, we want our name on the car, and we're willing to pay to get it on the car, you have to realize that it's still Rick Hendrick paying himself, right? So when people say it's not a real sponsor, it's not quite right. It's a real sponsor in the sense that Kyle Larson is funded for the next 2.5 years. But it's not a sponsor in the traditional sense of what we've come to know of it, which is a Fortune 500 company or some other sort of a company coming onto the car and paying like outside of say Rick Hendrick's businesses, or even on the periphery of Rick Hendrick's businesses. As we found out in more recent years, a lot of sponsorships are done through business-to-business transactions. So if you see Valvoline on a Hendrick Motorsports car, that doesn't necessarily mean Valvoline's paying cash money to put their logos on the car. It may mean that they've run some deal to become the oil supplier of Rick Hendrick's cars and trucks and all that sort of stuff. So it's a throwback. What it really is kind of again, Kyle Larson. I made the AJ Foyt comparison already. It's kind of like AJ Foyt and Jim Gilmore were for the longest time. Was Jim Gilmore getting a whole lot of the what we now know of as sponsorship benefits out of that? Sure, he was at the racetrack and he was sitting on the pit box, but outside of that, he was funding AJ Foyt because AJ Foyt won races, and that's what's going on here. Rick Hendrick is paying for Kyle Larson because Kyle Larson is good for his business, and his business is selling cars and racing cars. And both of those things Kyle Larson apparently is able to do. You know, back in the day, prior to the early 1970s, racing teams operated in a completely different way. There wasn't a whole lot of corporate sponsorship. It was guys who were either incapable of driving the race cars themselves or unwilling to drive the race cars themselves. And they would go out and hire the best driver they could. That's kind of how you got the AJ Foyts and the Richard Pettys and the Mario Andretti's of the world back then. So it's again kind of interesting. Unfortunate circumstances how it's kind of came about, because I think without the N-word controversy, Kyle Larson probably has Fortune 500 companies knocking down his door for legitimate sponsorships, and or the legitimate sponsorships in the sense that we understand them today, rather than Rick Hendrick funding it out of pocket through his various other companies. But I still think that ultimately it's a good thing. Rick Hendrick is committing to a driver who very much looks like he's going to be around for a very long time in the Cup Series and winning races. Of course, it depends how the next gen car goes. I'm not talking about the safety aspects this time. I'm talking about how Rick Hendrick is able to develop that car and whether Kyle Larson is able to adapt to it. But looking at how well Kyle Larson adapts to every other race car he gets in, probably not going to be a problem. In fact, one of the other big notes from this is that Rick Hendrick and HendrickCars.com are going to be funding all of Kyle Larson's extracurricular activities. All of the dirt cars will now be sponsored by HendrickCars.com. This is a tremendous commitment from Rick Hendrick to Kyle Larson, and again, it's a throwback to the 60s and the 50s and the 40s, where a rich guy goes, I want you to drive my race car, and I don't care how much it costs. We're going to go win a whole bunch of races. And hopefully they get some website traffic, because that seems like something they're very interested in. And I will say that the HendrickCars.com look is definitely a good livery. So at least we don't have to look at bad-looking cars in Winner's Circle in NASCAR for the next 2 to 3 years. So that's the video. Done a lot of stock car videos this week. Hopefully we'll get into some other stuff. But the problem is that we've got the whole Olympic break for all the series coming up. That's going to be awesome. I'm so glad racing just decides to stop for the Olympics. Amazing. Great. Fantastic. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been David Land on YouTube. We'll see you in the next video. Subscribe for more motorsport content.